Hi my fellow Scriabinoids, welcome to a lesson on the Scriabin Sonata number 9. This is part of the lesson series on the Scriabin Sonatas, and we are going to look at number 9, opus 68 today. This is commonly known as the Black Mass. Scriabin has himself said that this is one of his darkest pieces, and that unlike the poem Satanique, opus 34, the satanic poem, Satan himself here in the ninth sonata is at home, while in the satanic poem he is just visiting, according to Scriabin himself. This is the shorter version of the lesson. If you're interested in getting the full lesson, it is available for purchase. The link to get it is down below in the description. It is discounted for the first week since the release of this video. And also, if you are buying a bundle of 5 sonatas, there is a discount for that as well to get it as a package. This is not a scientific work, but rather my personal intake with lots of impressions, information, associations, and explanations of my own interpretational choices and aspects that have affected these decisions over the years while I have been working on the Scriabin sonatas. Please note that I'm also providing an annotated PDF with a score with my own personal markings. Of course, I cannot provide one of my favorite editions, which would be Jorgensen or Bärenreiter. These you can, of course, purchase from the publishers themselves. I'm providing a score from the public domain, but I have sat down and I have written the markings that I have written for myself and that have helped me establish certain technical decisions and interpretational choices, something that works. It might not work for you. Nothing of what I say might work for you. This is completely fine. I'm just providing my own intake on how I see the Scriabin sonatas, and if this would be helpful to you in your work, in your practice, in your exploration of Scriabin's music, you are welcome to keep watching and to purchase the full version of this lesson by clicking on the link below in the description. So the sonata number 9 is in the tonal center of the key of G. We have, of course, departed the realm of tonal music a long time ago because Scriabin has derived his own way to compose music in the late time period of his legacy. So he has based a lot of his work, including certain themes of the ninth sonata, on the octatonic scale. I'm not going into theory or harmony or history, for that matter, that much during this lesson series, because I'm concentrating on interpretational choices, on fingerings, on which hand plays what, because I often redistribute the material between the two hands in order to make it work better for my own hand, and perhaps that could help you. But I'm going to talk lots about pianistic decisions and stuff like that. So if that's something that interests you, keep watching. The plot of this sonata is commonly known as evil forces corrupting a pure soul. And we have respective motifs that represent both the evil forces as well as perhaps chanting or casting a spell. We have the pure soul, we have other things that I'm going to talk about. So let's review these motifs that Scriabin has used in the ninth sonata, and I'm of course not going to mention all of them every time. I might though, but just for your reference, so you know what is what. We have the first theme, pianissimo, with the marking légendaire, legendary, and it is a descending chromatic dyad motif. The response in the left hand follows. and so on. Then we have mystérieusement murmuré, mysteriously murmured. So this is in measure 7. We have a single note motif. Well, it starts with a single note, repeated note. And then there is a response. So this is something like casting a spell for me personally, and I have a very vivid set of visuals for this sonata. I don't know if that's helpful to you, but I'm happy to share them. To me, this is something like someone in a hut in the middle of a forest many thousands years ago, in front of the fire, wants to curse, to cast a spell. Someone very old and very miserable, like a witch. They are in this weird hut with things hanging from the ceiling, so whatever the evil witches have, you know, corpses of animals. She or he, so this creature, person, I don't know, is trying to win something for themselves by cursing someone else. And it's perhaps our task to figure whom later in the piece, and we surely should. So then we have the trill motif, which is in measure 23. That's a pick up to 24. And this is as close to the flight motif from sonatas 8 and 7 as we could imagine. Of course, this has been revamped. Now it's a very dark piece, and it's not exactly the flight motif, but maybe, to me, this is something like the flames. You know how when you throw something into the flame, sometimes there are a lot of sparkles and it kind of rises up immediately. So this is something like that to me personally. And we will talk about the dynamics and things like that and fingerings slightly later. Let's move on. We have the theme 2. This is the purity. This is that pure soul. It comes in measure 33, well, 35 to be precise. In measure 33, there is the first hint that it's going to be a thing. So it goes like this: minor, second up. So after a few times like that, it develops. And it says avec une longueur naissante, which means with a nascent languor. In the development, we have a very interesting new motif. This is the dance. This is, to me, a ritual dance. So if we look at measure 113, we will see the following in the right-hand part. The material is from the theme 1, as you may have noticed, but Scriabin changes the rhythm completely. With this ostinato pattern, rhythmical pattern, it becomes like a dance, and to me this is something that is done as a ritual, really. And I think it fits when you think casting a spell, cursing evil forces, something that has happened long ago, maybe a cult, something of that sort. Then the ritual dance fits like a puzzle into this whole picture. What's interesting is that the theme 2, the purity, changes over the course of the sonata, and we can actually see how it becomes really rigid over time. It becomes sharp. It changes with the rhythm, because at first we started kind of dolce. We started in a very gentle way. There were a lot of tied notes. It was pianissimo. It was clearly a representation of something really divine, you know. But over the course of the sonata, in the recap, we have the March of the Evil Forces, which is based on theme 1. And and so on. And then we have that second theme already as part of the march. It's the melody of the march. And so on. So we have that pure now transformed into something very big, very powerful, and it sounds quite dark. So very solid, very steady. A side note is that this has to be the finger legato. So in addition to the pedaling, I'm really convinced that it has to be played legato by the finger. So you really hold until the next note comes. But this is pianissimo, so it's very tricky sometimes to make sure that the balance is the way you want it. And if we consider that our fingers are, of course, not even, some are longer, some are shorter, and we have to turn our hand because there is that C sharp, stuff like that, it's very easy sometimes to play an interval not together. It's quite tempting if you are not controlling it, if you are not watching over it, that you might end up with something like that. What to do in order to avoid it? I think we have to really experiment with our hand, and I realized that, for example, my fingering is 2-5-1-4, 2-5-1-4, and then 3-5. So when I have 2-5, I realize that the 2 sometimes comes a little bit earlier. Like it's already on the key and the 5 is kind of bent, but I want it to be there this way. I want the 4 to be there this way because I want it to be legato. So in order to play this together, I have to sort of play with the second finger a little bit later to really control it well, and then I know that they will be together. So I have to keep it in mind that my second finger will most likely reach the key, or rather produce the sound from the key sooner than my pinky if I think that I'm planting them into the keys together. So we have to really kind of be careful and pay attention that the pinky is really ready to play when the second finger is ready. So kind of shift the weight towards the pinky and give the 2 a little bit of time. So now my 2 is light, but I'm watching over the melody with my pinky. I'm supporting it, of course, with this muscle because it's tiny, but I want the melody to be beautiful and I want the melody to come out. So in order to create that kind of a balance, I'm also watching, of course, over the support. About the pedal. There are tons of different ways to pedal. Once again, you don't have to use any pedal. Again, if you're in a huge room, in a huge hall, there will probably be the acoustics already, so you have to watch over that. You might pedal also on each of them. So I'm gonna use the new pedal. Change, change, and change, and change, and hold with my right hand, of course, and so on. Or I might do something slightly funky, which is what I've been doing recently, is to kind of change halfway. So a little bit stays, but again, depends on the acoustics. Now I'm in a dry room. That room has no reverb whatsoever. So I'm changing the pedal, but I'm not fully going down and fully lifting. My foot is somewhere in between. So it is around the middle, but I don't go all the way up and I don't go all the way down. And I think that's the way we kind of have the legendary impression. At least I do now. I'm convinced by this. When I am choosing these interpretational devices and incorporating them. So I lift before I start the recap forte, allegro molto, then immediately diminuendo. Although it's very hard because there are so many notes, so many registers. The left hand has that swirling figure, but still keep in mind diminuendo, and in 4 measures you have to be piano. One more thing. I don't bother to connect that much legato here because that might betray your hand. Again, it's the same thing as I told you in the very beginning, that some of the fingers tend to play sooner than the others in this pattern. If you go too much legato, you might not be able to fully control it in a very fast tempo. I think that's my maximum. Maybe I don't have a good technique, who knows. But if you want to help yourself, go with portamento or something of that sort, but drop the legato idea, because that's going to be much harder for your hand and much harder to play forte. So entering the recap. I take off the pedal here. Easy piano practice slowly a lot. But drop the bottom voice. Maybe connect the top voice if you can. So this, but don't worry about connecting the bottom voice. Don't kill yourself. The tempo is going to be crazy. You won't hear it yourself. Nobody will hear it, but you don't want to come out after that performance with your right hand completely dead. You want your right hand to keep playing after you're done with the sonata, I'm pretty sure. So save yourself. Light and easy on these ones. The next task is to match the triplets of the left hand that is above for the C sharp with the right hand. So let's do it slowly. It's not very easy. It's a very strange hand position, first of all, and with the stuff in the right hand, it becomes really tricky. My advice would be to not really think of, playing 2 against 3 or whatever. What's important to concentrate on is going towards that last C sharp. This one. So start on time and end together that last C sharp with the right hands G and B here. So you have to mark that point. But practice slowly a lot. Another thing, on the downbeat of 161, we have this. It's very tempting to play it as loud as you can. Don't. Because it's pianissimo and the accent is in the pianissimo. So there is a very big difference whether your accent is in forte, fortissimo, or pianissimo or piano, because the accent is not just playing as loud as you can, it's about the character. And this is maybe very scary, but it's still in pianissimo. It's not screaming scary. It's something else. You can figure out what it is. You can imagine something for yourself, but please do keep that accent. It's rough, but it's still in pianissimo. I'm going from 159. I hope that this was helpful, that you have learned something useful during this lesson on Scriabin 9. Please let me know how this has been going for you. And just for your information, there is a link to the contact form of my website. And if you're interested in playing Scriabin or not necessarily Scriabin for me, you can request a private lesson or a series of private lessons, or we can discuss some regular schedule. If you would like to take lessons with me, I am available for this option as well, and I teach all kinds of classical music, not only Scriabin, although Scriabin has been the main concentration for me for the last several years. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope you have liked my little fairy tale about what's going on in this piece. Share yours, what you have in this piece, actually, because I'm very curious to find out whether you have similar perceptions or something completely different. Let's have some fun. Let's share what's going on. And I will see you in my next videos, in my next lessons. Bye.